Now, there's a caller there from John from Ontario. Are you there, John? I'll take you now before I read the next article.
Hello, is this me?
That's you.
Well, it's Kevin from North Bay, Ontario, not just down the road from where you are. We spoke a couple of weeks ago there, Alan.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also a member of We Are Change North Bay. We're finally getting some political action going on here in Northern Ontario. And, remember when we last spoke, they're pulling every trick they possibly can to set up this whole world government thing. And, of course, they do like to have testing grounds for certain countries. I'm sure you've read about Bill C-6, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Here in Canada, where now this Codex Alimentarius program where they're able to come into our homes pretty much without a search warrant, just to make sure that we don't have any illegal natural medicine.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, it's sad, but there are some people that are starting to stand up for their rights, especially here in Northern Ontario. Like I said, with the We Are Change group, and man.
Well, I noticed even in Sudbury. See, a few years back, Canada and the rest of the world was told too that the main cities, the other cities were around, should all amalgamate and become super cities. This came, by the way, from the United Nations. And then they would get a common tax base, common inspectors, and common laws for all the lands outlying in the different areas. Well, Greater Sudbury there is having a meeting by the government, inviting all the people, and they bring in their change agents to convince the public to go along and how to lie to the public in a nice way. And what it is a talk about what you now can and cannot do with your land, how you can use it, and how you're not allowed to use it anymore. They've changed drastically your own rights on your own property. Well, this is happening across the whole country, and it's coming from the United Nations, by the way. It's going the same way as Australia, where they'll just confiscate your land and say, well, your land is now a carbon sink for Canadians, carbon outputs, and you get no compensation. They just seize it like that poor guy in Australia. That's only one of many that's happened to. This is all coming from the United Nations. Yeah.
Absolutely. And another program, there was a presentation that was going on also about the Project Nanook, which was about the Northwest Passage up in the Arctic, and of course in classic Orwellian doublespeak, the Canadian Navy commander that was this is the guest of honor there. He was Alexander Grant, and he was talking about how we were trying to fight for Canadian sovereignty. Yeah, right. And then the classic Orwellian doublespeak later on, he said that we're going to have the Americans are going to be helping us help policing the North and helping with doing military stuff up in the Northern Arctic. And then I started asking him if this was something that hadn't happened to do with Iran and Russia, and having to setting up a military perimeter around North America and part of the North American Union. Mm-hmm. And, boy, he didn't like those questions.
No, but that was in the papers, remember, in 2005, when it came out in the Canadian papers. It was called Fortress America, when the Prime Minister of Canada, the Prime Minister of Mexico, and the U.S. President met together to sign the first part of the Open Amalgamation Treaty for the unification of the Americas. And they said at the time that this terrorism has been a godsend to them because they want to go the same way as Europe, and they get too much resistance, so they could use terrorism as a way to integrate all forces, police forces, intelligence forces, the military, and all the rest of it. Well, they actually said in the rest of the articles, and I've even got the tape here from television, I kept it, I played it on the air because the Americans had never heard this was even happening, and their president was signing this into law. And it said that already bureaucrats on the federal level in Canada can apply for equivalent positions in the U.S. Department and vice versa. And it also said that as of then, 2005, actually it was 2003 that started, they were amalgamating all intelligence services, and lo and behold, in 2005, FBI offices started opening up in places like Barrie and across Canada. We're already integrated. They haven't just told the public all about it yet.
Yeah, and and here in Canada also, we're pretty much now under a flat-out dictatorship, with Stephen Harper after he gets shut down. By the way, this Codex Alimentarius bill, that's what I call it. They're calling it C6, I call it the Codex bill. When they passed Congress, Parliament was shut down when it passed.
Yes.
And that tells me, is that a bit of a symbolism here? That, now we are in control. We're going to pass these draconian laws now. We're going to be testing these on Canadian soil, like I've been trying to warn people about. And we are changing North Bay now. We're going to start bringing awareness about this to the whole community.
Yes. And
hopefully we're going to be able to get somewhere. And of course, since you're also in Northern Ontario, you're also welcome to join us at any time.
Yeah.
So and also it's just amazing that people aren't waking up to this.
Well, yourself, you take the average newspaper that's out every day, and you get the front page, right in the front page, their main story is sports, you see, or they'll pick one person that something's happened to, she found her purse and blah, blah, blah. Some trivia that doesn't affect anybody else's lives. They don't tell you what they're really up to, what they're really going on about. And neither will Harper tell you that this year he signs into law that the final integration part, this is the year for it, 2010, in the summer, they've signed the last part of this total amalgamation bill. So expect to see an awful lot more U.S. Troops and so on up in Canada. I spoke to guys who work for the Canadian military, who actually patrol the northern parts of Canada, and they told me they're already working with them.
Yeah, and I spoke with I got a friend of mine that's also in the military here. He's been put under some competence. He's told me a few things also, some of the programs that we are going to be working more with the Americans to not only just Bill C-60 to integrate both of our of the militaries of the United States and Canada.
Yes,
but it's pretty much going to be the North American Army itself.
It is absolutely. They've discussed a totally amalgamated force. I've got the articles here about the complete integration of the European forces, just the same thing. We're just taking after them. That was the prototype again was Europe. We were to come second, and the Pacific Rim region was to come third. Yeah.
Indeed. And, is there any other method nowadays, like short of like Max Egan's idea of global non-compliance, that would, put an end to all this?
It's very, very difficult. As you know, in Canada, it's much like Britain. The people have never been an active people getting involved in their own lives and what's happening to them. I noticed when the gasoline goes up now, they don't even complain about the prices anymore. They used to always. I think they're so mind-bombed in an expertise way that they can't think very clearly anymore. Their attitude is, so what? They've got lots of entertainment, mind you. Everybody's stuck on television with hundreds of channels. And it isn't until it hits them personally that it comes down to the crunch. But people haven't a clue how things are really run in Canada. For instance, if you have a parent here in Canada, and I found this from a listener in Sudbury, you're supposed to report if your parent shows any signs of Alzheimer's to the cops. And the cops come into your home with their combat boots and so on and treat you like a suspect.
Yeah, and when I lived up in Iroquois Falls, it was starting to get really bad up there too. I know Cochrane was getting really bad with the police forces there. Very, pretty much acting much like Gestapo.
Yes, that's right. And people are terrified now to speak to them. These guys are wearing their full combat gear here. Even the ties and their shirts are black. That's a sign of the executioner. You see, we're not in a democratic system anymore. You're in a totalitarian system of authoritarianism. And that's the message we're seeing all around us now. But thanks for calling. And I got to write this other article too, though. But calling again. Yeah, it's astonishing what's happening. But as I say, that most folk haven't got a clue what's actually happening. And they say nothing until they personally are hit by some new law or agents coming into their land or confiscating their property or whatever. They just don't know what's going on. And they don't care, unfortunately, because they've been so fragmented amongst themselves. At one time, people really had communities. Everybody knew what had happened to everyone else in the community, and they'd stand up together. Now everyone is sitting inside that little house of theirs with a glowing eye, the big eye, Lucifer's eye, flickering away there, and they don't even know who their neighbors are, and they don't really want to know what's happening around them. That's a fact of life, and this did not happen by accident either, folks. Nothing does when it comes to micromanagement and control.